It's coming out next week.
Okay. Excellent. Well, we'll try to get this podcast out. It won't be this Saturday, but possibly the Saturday after. We could probably swing that.
I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go. I just need you to know that my voice is a little shaky today. I've been doing nonstop podcasts. So if I cough, can we just edit?
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay. Here we go. Hey there, this is Ari. Welcome back to the Energy Blueprint podcast. With me today is a very, very well-known nutrition expert, Anne-Louise Gittleman, who is a top nutritionist and author who is internationally recognized as a pioneer in dietary, longevity, environmental, and women's health issues. She's an award-winning New York Times bestselling author of over 35 books. Wow. On health and nutrition, including diet, detox, women's health, men's health, perimenopause, menopause, beauty, and the environment. She holds a Master's of Science in Nutrition Education from Columbia University. She has the title of Certified Nutrition Specialist from the American College of Nutrition and a PhD in Holistic Nutrition. Over the years, she's been a regular health contributor on several television shows and networks, including 2020, CNN, PBS, Fox News, and The Early Show. She's also been featured in Time, Newsweek, The New York Times, The Los Angeles Times, The Wall Street Journal, USA Today, The Huffington Post, and more. So welcome, Dr. Gittleman. It's such a pleasure to connect with you, and I'm very excited to get into this with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Ari. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. So to get started, let's talk about your new book is all about radical longevity. So tell me what inspired you to write this new book, and I guess we're going to be talking about what are the key insights of it, but what were some of your personal motivations for writing this book on radical longevity?
You know, it's such a good question. I've written about every other topic under the sun, Ari. This is the only one I never touched. And I think it's because of enlightened self-interest. I'm in my 77th decade. I'm 72 years young. So it was time to kind of conglomerate everything I've ever learned, known, observed, researched, and put it into one particular book. So it became Radical Longevity, which is a real conglomeration of everything I've ever written, the teachings of my 106-year-old teacher that lived till 106 with all her senses intact. So I'm sharing secrets, insights, and new research that I think people will truly benefit from.
Beautiful. So one of the things you talk about in the book is that your biology is not your biography. Talk to me about that paradigm shift.
I think it's really obvious that in this day and time we can go beyond our genes. I truly believe that genes are not your destiny. You know, there's this saying that genes may load the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. And I really believe that that's true. So if you're using the right thoughts, the right food, the right supplements, the right spiritual practices, the right mindset, you can overcome, manage, and mitigate any disease condition. I think that aging is really an accumulation of bad habits, poor habits, less than stellar habits, toxicities and deficiencies that we now have the ability to overcome and renew.
Beautiful. So the title of the book is Radical Longevity. First of all, what is that? Does that mean, living to 150? Does it mean radical longevity in the sense of living to a ripe old age, but doing so with good health and functionality, with all of your senses and faculties intact? How do you define that? What does it mean to you?
I think you've defined it beautifully. It's the whole concept that age is a privilege. It really is a privilege that's denied to far too many people. And at this age and stage of the game, I can say that for many of my cohorts and mentors and friends and associates that are no longer with us, that seemingly we're doing everything right, Ari. So I've kind of uncovered the things that they may have been missing that are hiding in plain sight so that everybody can benefit from what I've learned. So I think that's number one, but it's also living to the age of 120, postponing aging for a good 30 years and doing it with vitality, doing it with grace, doing it with grits, and doing it with gratitude. So I think all that's important. I think it's very possible, and it's certainly possible knowing the energy blueprint as you have been so helpful in promoting, and knowing some of the secrets that I now reveal finally in Radical Longevity.
Beautiful. So talk to me about your, obviously you have an extremely extensive training, formal education in nutrition, and then you've been studying for decades apart from your formal education following the nutrition science and developing your own ideas around that. What are the biggest nutritional tools in terms of achieving radical longevity?
Interestingly enough, one of the biggest nutritional tools is the use of apple cider vinegar, kind of an age-old remedy. What I'm finding is that people, when they get older, the cell itself is like a battery. It holds a real positive charge. And so I'm finding that apple cider vinegar is a very important energizer and rebalancer of the pH on a cellular level. So taking 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar 3 times a day and 8 ounces of water is a real kind of trick of the trade, so to speak. It's an ancient remedy which I think is very inexpensive for most people and can easily be implemented to help the pH, to help your absorption of potassium, other minerals, and also to amp up hydrochloric acid production so that you're actually assimilating your proteins, your acid-based minerals like iron and calcium, as well as magnesium. So apple cider vinegar would be number 1. The other real aid is a good omega-6s. We're demonizing all the omega-6s at the exclusion of the good omega-6s, which is a GLA substance so important as a precursor to hormones as well, and that is hemp seed oil. So one of my real secrets in the book is to really glorify hemp seed, and we have a new mantra called hemp hooray. So hemp hooray for hemp seed oil. It's an absorber of radiation, good for the mitochondria, good for the cell membrane, good for the skin. It's the best thing to get rid of psoriasis and eczema. So that would be my number 2 real trick of the trade. And then number 3, I think, would be the salt and soda bath. We're surrounded by so much EMF in this day and time that you really have to neutralize the excessive acidity on a fluid level. So taking 2 cups of baking soda, 2 cups of salt, and maybe 20 minutes of a hot bath 3 times a week, I think is important to kind of reduce that acidity on that fluid level in the body, which is really exacerbated and accelerated by so much radiation, both ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. So that would be number 3. And probably number 4, if I may, to kind of get to the awesome foursome, we need sun. You need all the full spectrum rays that the sun provides, probably at the time that's most apropos, which is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You need the red light therapy that you so readily write about. You need the vitamin D, and you need to keep your skin to the point of burning, which is very important if you take some internal sulforaphane, which is an internal sunscreen. So I'm a big believer in just following Mother Nature. There are really no secrets to longevity. It's following your own bliss.
Beautiful. I absolutely, I want to say amen to that last one on sunlight. And I feel it's actually the subject of the next book that I'm going to be putting out there is all about the science around sunlight and human health. And one of the things that I'm very, very passionate about is teaching people about those benefits and also teaching people about the fact that this is one of the big keys to health that has been widely underappreciated and ignored. So I absolutely love that you're including it in your top 4. Absolutely.
You've got to embrace the sun. I think it's extremely important, and we've got this all ass backwards, if you should excuse the expression. So you need the sunlight. You don't need to have the kind of sunscreens that are the chemicalized sunscreens that are so toxic to the skin and providing us with so much skin cancer. You need the vitamin D. You need to be out in the air to get it, out in the sun to get it. So welcome the sun, embrace the sun, bless the sun. Amen.
Beautiful. So tell me the 7 rules. One of the things you talk about in this book is the 7 rules to radical longevity. Are those covered by some of the things you just mentioned, or what are those 7 rules?
Well, the first one is immunity is everything. And you and I both know we're just coming out of a pandemic, so immunity is absolutely everything. So you need the right vitamins, the right minerals, you need the right melatonin at night to kind of protect you against the EMFs, to protect your glutathione and your SOD. You also need a humidifier in the house so that your respiratory tract is protected, especially the nasal labia or the nasal cilia, so that you're not subject to dry air. So that would be number 1.
Oh, let's, if you don't mind, that's something that I recently learned about. I listened to a whole podcast on that specific subject, and it's something that I really didn't know much about until recently. I would love for you to just talk a bit more in depth on the importance of humidity in the air as it relates to the immune function in the mucous membranes.
Well, this was a surprise to me. So there was a study that was done in 2019 at Harvard. So this is a very prestigious study, obviously, in some of the annals of our prestigious institutions. And they found out that the most important factor to protect against respiratory infections was not adequate vitamin D, although